How you feel about it, Riley? You got it? You want to read it? You ready to roll?
I'm good, man.
You ready, Brown? Roll it. Bring it, Brown.
.357 Productions is proud to present The Masonian, a monthly podcast for Freemasons with a focus on the Grand Jurisdiction of North Carolina. While not an official function of the Grand Lodge of North Carolina, we operate with full endorsement of Grandmaster Douglas Caudle. The opinions expressed on this show are those of the participants and in no way reflect the opinions of the Grand Lodge of North Carolina, its members, or any appendant bodies. 357 Productions does not own any of the music used in this show, but always, we sure do like it.
You know we do.
As always, we've got our host, Most Worshipful Brother Ben Wallace. On tech, in the back, making it all happen, the man, the myth, the legend, Brother Sean Brown, and myself, Worshipful Brother Riley Beeman. Tonight, we are extremely fortunate. We've got Grandmaster of Masons in North Carolina, who is past Master of Statesville Lodge number 27, one of the founding members of Sophia Lodge, a graduate of Wilkerson College, and appointed to the Grand Line in 2007 by Most Worshipful David Cash. And tonight, we've got Most Worshipful Douglas Caudle.
Yay!
Thank you.
Well, Grandmaster, we're awful glad to have you here tonight. This is, I think, our fourth episode that we're going to be rolling out right here at the end of May. We'll be rolling this out right about June 1st. And we asked you a couple months ago to work it into your schedule. You graciously have done so. I know you've been awful busy. Have you been busy, boss?
About 17,000 miles and 32 nights in a hotel so far. In 6 months, less than 6 months.
Well, we hope it slows down for you a little bit in the second half of the year.
I hope not. I'm enjoying it too much.
Oh, that's good stuff. So tell us a little bit about going all over the state. How's it been?
It's incredible. It is absolutely incredible the amount of respect shown for the office of Grand Master. The Lodge brothers are most welcoming everyone. It's really amazing some of the nice things that has happened to me, from having a parking spot to last week singing happy birthday to me in a lodge meeting as I was introduced, and just all the respect shown for the office. It's really quite humbling. It really is. It makes me, it's just such a incredible experience that you just have to be part of to have an appreciation for, and I really appreciate everything that all the brothers do for us.
You know, it's kind of funny. It seems to me in the travels I've been around, and especially around you Grand Line guys, it seems like on one hand there's this tremendous respect, for the continuity and for the office and everything, and then still sometimes there seems to be this disconnect between the Grand Lodge guys and the normal guys. And I think that's more perceived on the normal guys' part. I don't hear it at all from the Grand Lodge guys' part. But I don't know if it's just people like to sometimes complain or whatever, but it's a strange dichotomy that we got going on there. Here's what I really want to know. How many of those miles has Kevin Combs driven?
Kevin has had a work situation. He's not been able to ride with me that much, but a lot of guys have. And I tell you, having that windshield time with not only Grand Lodge officers, any guys, that windshield time, you can solve a lot of the world's problems riding up and down the road, and it's you really gain that close bond with that windshield time.
Hey, let's throw him a shout out. Who's been driving you around?
Well, the Grand Secretary, Jonathan Underwood, Max Sigmund, our Grand Lecturer, Keith Rash, all these guys have been traveling with me. So, yeah.
Very good stuff. What do you think, Riley?
That's awesome. It's unbelievable the miles you guys travel. And I know earlier we were talking about you've got your last meeting or address, I guess you could say, coming up
The last district meeting is tomorrow night at Statesville 27, my home lodge. I purposely started out at Sophia as my first meeting and ending with my home lodge, Statesville 27. So the two lodges that I'm closest to, I wanted to start and end with those guys.
And most worshipful, we were all fortunate enough at Sophia, we got to hear the first address. And at Blackmore Lodge, we call it the State of the Lodge. What has been how they receive this in lodges as you've been doing it? It was powerful. For those guys who have not heard it, it's amazing. It's great. We were talking about the energy that we felt off of it and how great we thought it was, but how's everybody else perceiving it in North Carolina?
You know, I've talked about some uncomfortable things and some things that not are always, that I thought would not be met with positive things. But so far, in the 27 meetings that we've had so far, I've had zero pushback on any of the things that I've discussed. And surprisingly, a lot of positive energy, and especially from Masons who have less than 3 years in the craft and 40-year plus Masons have really seemed to have been the ones that came up and said, thank you for addressing these difficult issues.
Why do you think that is?
I think the young guys want something. They're looking for Masonry for something that has purpose, that has meaning. The older guys know how it used to be, what we've slipped away from in some instances. So
How do you think that happened? How did we get away from it?
I think we started confusing numbers with quality. We also went very cheap. As our membership started to decline, we mistakenly thought, well, if we cheapen it, if we charge less for our initiation fees, if we charge less for annual dues, or just keep them the same for 30, 40 years, if we relax our dress code, then more guys will want to come. And it had the opposite effect.
So the opposite side of that coin is to make it a richer experience and attract guys that way. So, but I think everybody understands that if you do that, then you're taking a chance that your numbers may continue to decline for a little while before you really gain some traction. Do you think that we as a Grand Lodge, and I don't mean just in your term, but I mean in the foreseeable future, in the next 5 or 10 or 15 years, do you think we're ready to bear that burden, to see our numbers drop in order to make the experience better?
You know, time will tell. We're still losing, obviously, the rate of decline now that a lot of the greatest generation, the World War II generation, unfortunately, a lot of those brothers are not with us anymore. We're still losing about 1,000 net loss each year. I think that's likely going to continue. We're at about 40,000 now, maybe just a little less. I think it'll continue a few more years, and then it will level out. I think that's where it's coming.
But I mean, Grand Lodges across the nation are really dealing with this, and I think we're dealing with it properly. I love the way that we're tackling it. But you know, across the nation, there seem to be these two schools of thought, and one is we're worried about our numbers. We want to make it cheaper. We want to make it easier. We want to do one-day classes. We want to make it more affordable. And then on the other hand, there's the other school of thought that, no, let's make it more expensive so it's more desirable and it's more rich and thick and it brings the good stuff, and that'll bring, even if your numbers are down, then you get more Masons and less men. You know, do you think it's easy to say, nobody's going to stand up here and say, yeah, we want numbers. We don't care about the experience. We just want numbers of men. Nobody's going to say that. Everybody's going to say they want the better experience. But if you're going to have a sustained campaign over a decade, then you've got to be prepared for the numbers to drop. And I think that many states, by their actions, have shown that they're not prepared to do that. And I think that North Carolina is starting to show that they're prepared to accept those losses in the short term in order to gain in the long term. Am I off base here?
No. The days of being able to fill up a 300-seat lodge room, unless it's a special meeting, I don't see those coming back in the foreseeable future. And, you know, there's a school of thought. Our lodges originated as a small, intimate group that knew each other. If you're in a 300-member lodge, you may know the guys' faces. But in a lodge that's, say, 40 members or less, you know these guys, you know what's going on in their life, you know what's going on in their families, and that's what Masonry is about, is looking after each other, being able to have that intimate bond with a brother.
And that's your message, and I've heard you pound it all year, and I could not be more on board with that. But it's got to be a sustainable effort from our leadership for a decade or two.
Exactly, and that's what I was getting ready to ask, Most Worshipful. This is very progressive change. And as we talked about earlier, I mean, this is really shaking up Freemasonry in North Carolina. And with that, being the boss this year, for this to take hold and take effect, you've got to know that the leadership under you is going to accept that. When you rolled this out to that team, to your Grand Line officers, what was their take on it?
They were very supportive of it. We meet, and we have for a number of years. We have it's an annual retreat. It's usually in January after the installation. It's a weekend retreat, and it's not just sitting around just talking in general. It is. We had three. It was Friday night, Friday evening, all day Saturday and Sunday morning, and we had three separate and distinct sessions that were planned, had an agenda that we went over, and the guys were highly engaged. And I went over this program with them, and of course we talk. Not only do we have this annual meeting, we're constantly speaking with each other, either by phone. I had a 20-minute conversation with the Deputy Grandmaster on the ride over tonight, talking over things. We're constantly emailing each other, so we're in pretty much constant contact with each other, sharing things, what's going on, what's working, what's not working, what do we need advice on, preparing what I'm trying to do, and what the guys that were ahead of me, they involved me in things that were going on, not from a what should we do, but here's things that can be coming at you in the future. So we're really engaged, and everyone is on board. I talked about this program that we're talking about now, and had 100% support from these guys, and the sustainability of it. Because I told them, I said, I can't say this year, and then we turn 90 degrees and go another direction. We've
just dropped the ball.
Right, exactly. All I'm doing is planting seeds right now. I don't have any grand scheme thing that's coming up, a 12-point program or anything like that. It's just addressing these issues and making small changes. It's just like turning a huge ship. If you turn a huge ship in one degree over a mile, it doesn't turn very far. It doesn't make that much of a course correction. Over 1,000 miles, it's a huge course direction, and that's what we're looking at, is moving it slowly and just over time, keeping that steady pressure, moving it.
I love it. I love the direction. I love making the experience richer and thicker.
Yep.
I don't mind a bit the numbers dropping. I think it's more of a natural regression back to the numbers that were pre-inflation, World War II, post-World War II inflation, getting back to our normal set instead of being inflated. But I think the message that the lodges need is not only if this is the course that we're going to go, and I think it's the course we should go, Ben's opinion, I'm sure everybody's interested in that. My unsolicited opinion is that if we're going to go this course, though, that we got to be prepared to drop the numbers. And if we're prepared to drop the numbers, then we got to be prepared to pay more money, both in our local lodges and our dues, in order to keep up the building. Because if you go from having 150 guys to having 75 guys, then you've either got to cut your services, which is going the exact opposite way of making it richer and thicker, right? You've got to still paint the building and mow the yard and fix the plumbing. And so the guys have got to pay more. And it seems like this is the third rail of Masonry, to talk about raising our dues, $5 or $10 or $50 or $100 or whatever. Nobody wants to talk about it because we'll lose a few guys, and we don't want to lose anybody. But there are ways to go. I don't want to get into a whole, this thing has taken a whole, we're completely off the rails of where we thought we were going to go with this thing. But, I just think that we've got to accept the fact that we're going to have to pay more if this is the way we're going. And they need to hear that from their leadership, and I know they've heard it from you this year. And I think that our leadership's got to continue to beat this drum. If this is where we're going, we got to continue to beat this drum for a long time.
I use the analogy of if your lodge dues were $50 in 1963, in today's dollars, they would need to be about $350. But then couple that with if your lodge is half the size as it was in 1963, it means your dues need to be around $700 to be comparable to a $50 dues in 1963.
Wow. Well, we just hadn't kept up with the times.
Yeah.
But it's changing.
But it's changing.
And
Indeed.
we've got a progressive line.
We have a progressive line.
That's right.
We have a forward-thinking, proactive, progressive line. I like it. All right, well, let's move on from that because I think we beat that to death, although I
Okay.
could talk about it just for the whole hour. You want to tell us a little bit about this, what is this decal program? Let's hit a few of these things pretty quick.
Yes, the Decal Program is for the Charles Cathy Masonic Scholarship. Hopefully within the next, well, hopefully by the time this comes out, 1st of June, around that same time frame, you should be receiving a letter. All North Carolina Masons will be receiving a letter from me. And inside it will be 2 decals. And the decals, you can put it on your car windows or home windows, whatever you'd like. And it says NC Masons Support Education. And it's for our Charles Cathy Masonic Scholarship. Grandmaster Cathy started this in the year 2000, and each year it gives out 8 $1,000 scholarships. And that sounds like a lot, but this year there were 200 applications for those 8 scholarships. So our target is to double that, and the only way we can do it is with the Masons' support. And I'm asking for $25 to go to this. This money is managed by the North Carolina Masonic Foundation. Do a good job managing it. And, if you want to give $100, we'll sure take $100. But if you can only give 5, we'll take 5. Whatever you can send, it'll be put to use for scholarships for high school seniors that are continuing on to college.
Well, sounds like good stuff. Tell us about this investigating committee guidelines program that you have going on.
That's something, we've had, over the years, we've gotten kind of drifted away from that, just using what's written in our code and maybe what's in the usual lodge customs. And unfortunately, as you see by the number of expulsions that we have each year at annual communication, we've had some folks that didn't really need to be Masons in our midst. This group, it's Worshipfull Brother Max Sigmund, our Junior Grand Deacon, Worshipfull Brother Larry Thompson, our Junior Grand Steward. I've asked them to do this. They have an outline ready. It needs to be edited, but we're going to get it out very soon. But this is something that, again, I don't want to harp on negative things, but we've gone cheap and easy. And investigating committees are meeting at the lodge. They're signing petitions for guys that they've only known for a little bit. And this guideline is to address things like this. We need to be meeting with their families, meeting in their homes, talking to their ladies, to make sure they're on board with it, to make sure that the candidate understands what's required as far as time commitment, those type things. And there's questions we need and have to be asking, and then there's also some questions that are inappropriate to ask. So it's just giving them guidelines, just something, tools to work with is what we're giving them, and we don't have that now.
It's good stuff. I like that we continue to change things. They redid the funeral service here not long ago, and made it better and more user friendly. It's good to see us getting guidance and direction.
Yep.
Let's talk about this OHSW app a little bit.
It is, the name of it, it's pretty neat. Rick Carter, he came up with this name, and it's called Hiram's Whisper. And it is the vocabulary for our OSW. And there's been some discussion about this. Some lodges have vocabularies, and the secretary sometimes will hold on to them with a death grip, and they're not as readily available to as many of the brothers as we may need. And with that, guys are using the wrong word. It may begin with the right letter, but it's the wrong word over time. And then if you put several generations of that out there, then all of a sudden we're learning it incorrectly. This is a way, it's using modern technology to find our words. There's been some concern about the security of it. Obviously, you have to have your membership identification number, which is on your dues card. You have to have that. That has to be checked through Maury, and then you're allowed to come in. Then you put your own personal PIN code into this Hiram's Whisper app, and what it will allow you to do is access 10 words per day. So it's a 10-word limit to get each word, and you put in the letter and the number beside of it. It's kind of like a dial, similar to a combination lock. You put that in, it gives you the word, and you have it then. Some of the concern about security is that someone will be able to access our work, and obviously they can. It will take 10 months it's over 2,900 words in our vocabulary, and it would take 10 months getting 10 words a day to get all of our words from that. Also, there's 370 copies of our vocabulary. Each lodge has one. Over the years, there's been lost copies. They're out there somewhere, and unfortunately, I've seen, I guess, lack of a better word, bootleg copies of our vocabulary with it written out.
I hope
so,
not.
Yeah, unfortunately, we've had that, and so it's out there. It's not as secret as we may think it is, but it's just a learning tool. It's a device, especially someone maybe studying for their certified lecturer, someone studying ritual to make themselves better, improve themselves in masonry. It's another tool, another working tool we have.
I love it. It sounds great. I can't wait to get it. I wish they give us more than 10 words a day. I mean, if I sit down to study, sometimes I need more than 10 words to.
And it's $35.99.
Get me back on track.
$35.99.
Yeah, I know when I'm working with the vocabulary, sometimes, you've got a sentence, and
Right.
you just can't get started. You look at the first word, and it's like A, and then you look at the second word, and it's, time, and you're like, okay. Then you look at the third word, and it's when, and then you're like, you need 4 or 5 words to
Right.
get going. Oh, you're like, oh, yeah, I got it now.
Yeah.
And take off and run. Anyway, sounds like great stuff. How much it costs? There's a cost associated with it?
$35.99.
Oh, that's pretty good. And it's available in like an Apple?
It's iTunes
app.
and what's the other?
iTunes, the App Store.
Play.
The App
Yeah.
Store.
The App Store and Google Play, I think, is I'm technically illiterate, so that's just what I understand about it.
Brown, what's our out time, buddy?
About 9:10.
10. All right, we got to move here. Let's run down through a couple of current events. We usually do these at the beginning of the session, but somebody forgot. That was me. The Vance Memorial Rededication is June the 6th. That's in Asheville, North Carolina.
It is.
The short version is that they were doing something with the memorial, and they found a time capsule in it, and it had some Masonic stuff, and they're rededicating the thing. It's right in the square there in Asheville.
It's there in Pack Square in Asheville. So to our
That's where the pig is, where you sit on that
That's
pig.
right. That is correct.
Turkey tracks.
Exactly. And that memorial's donated, or not donated, it memorializes Governor Zebulon Vance, who was a member of Mount Hermon 118. He was a former governor of North Carolina. And this monument has, and I forget, I think it was late 1800s, early 1900s when it was built. It's had some weathering issues. They've gone in, resealed the joints where it's a rough stone obelisk. Is that the correct word that I'm using? Sounds good. And some of the mortar joints had become deteriorated. They've gone in, repacked those. It's in good shape. It's good for another 100 years. And we're rededicating that. We're going to do another ceremony up there. We're going to take a nice picture. There's a beautiful panoramic picture taken when it was first dedicated, and we're going to try to recreate that with all the Masons being present there. So that's Saturday afternoon, 2 o'clock, June 6th.
Hope anybody that can make that, that'd be great, especially if you're in the western part of the state, be convenient to you. Be sure and go see that. Ritual competition, June 13th. This is the Wilkerson College Lodge Symposium, which is near and dear to me. So I hope that everybody comes out to that. Ritual competition, it's still not too late to get a team in. There's rules, and you can look on our Facebook page or on our website and get some information. Also, at the same time that we have the ritual competition going on, this is all at the Greensboro Temple. Rob Hurd is going to be doing a series of lectures on allegory and symbolism. And also Stephen Bullock is going to be doing a series of lectures on history. He wrote a book called Revolutionary Brotherhood. We pitch this every time we do the podcast. We've been doing it for a while, but the time is upon us. So there's something for everybody there if you want to watch good ritual, if you want to learn about history, if you want to learn about allegory and symbolism. All that will be going on at the same time in the Greensboro Masonic Temple, and we invite everybody to come to that.
It's like a state fair for Masons.
It's even better than that, man. It's going to be wonderful. All the cool kids are going to be there. There's another thing going on June 13th that I don't even want to talk about, but I'm going to, just because the Grandmaster's here and I like him. They're going to be rededicating the North Carolina Capitol on June the 13th, and the Masons are playing a part. We had, just for the record, we had our event scheduled before they had their event scheduled. So they have stepped on our event. We haven't stepped on their event, but they have taken some of our people. Jonathan Underwood was supposed to do a series of lectures for us that day, right behind Stephen Bullock, and he has to go do this thing for the Grand Lodge. Grandmaster is going to have to spend a significant amount of his day over at the state capitol, and it's really cool that we're going to be able to do that. It's really nice that the state's going to allow, I guess, Toby and the Grand, they call him Grand, and you will both be taking part in that. Cornerstone Lane,
We will.
I'm assuming.
We definitely will.
Excuse me, you want to talk about it? Don't talk about it much, because everybody's really going to be coming to the Wilkerson College Lodge Symposium. But in case anybody found
Don't play that, make it sound cool.
Yeah, we'll probably only have about 3 people there. So just Speed Hallman and myself will probably just be there. And
Jonathan.
Yeah. It's this is I talked earlier about the honors of being Grandmaster, and these things, this advanced dedication, this capital celebrated centennials and 150-year celebrations with lodges this year, and it's just so neat to be able to do things like that. It's such an honor, and this this is the capital of the state. The governor will be there, and we'll have a big time that day.
Cool.
But yes, we're going to have a big time in Greensboro as well.
Super cool. Talk about this celebrating the return of the jewels for Zion Lodge.
This is something that's down in southeastern North Carolina, Zion Lodge, number 81. And I'll probably get it incorrect. Johnny Searles asked me, worshipful brother Johnny Searles down in that part of the state asked me to do this. The way I understand it is that during the Civil War, the Union troops came through and they found the jewels that were part of Zion Lodge, the officers' jewels, and they liberated them, we'll call it that. They liberated the jewels. And
Repatriated them is the way
right,
they would
that
say
might
it,
be,
probably.
That might be. And one of the Union officers who was a Mason saw them, the guys had them, and he saw them, and he liberated them from the guys who had taken them from the lodge. And in he made a note in his diary that he was going to return them to Zion Lodge. Well, later on, he was killed, and I'm not sure exactly which battle it was, but he was later killed in action, I think up in the Virginia area. And with his effects were sent home. They stayed locked up in a box or a trunk or something for a number of years. And then later on, his family opened them, saw what it was, found in his diary his notation of what lodge it came from, and they contacted that lodge. And this was in the late 1800s, and the Connecticut Masons found them, made contact with the guys in Zion Lodge. They rode by horseback down south. The guys from Zion Lodge rode horseback north, and they met in Richmond, and the Connecticut Masons gave Zion Lodge their jewels back. And this celebration on August 6th, there's a group from that lodge in Connecticut coming down to sit in lodge with the Zion brothers, and they're going to have a nice little celebration and just have good fellowship. So that's August 6th at Zion Lodge down in southeastern North Carolina.
Are they riding horses?
They'll probably, I doubt it.
It's a pretty good story.
Yeah, it's an amazing story. That's awesome.
Yes.
Brown, why don't you run down there and record all that for us?
I could probably do that.
Take Captain Campbell.
Okay.
That's right, take Campbell with you. All right, just a little aside here. So in the last 5 days, me and Brown have been to Gettysburg. We went with Larry Thompson, Steve Campbell, Ken Ringler. And Campbell and Ringler are like real historians. I like to read about history. They're like real historians and stuff. And they tour guided us all over Gettysburg for 3 days. We made some really great memories up there, and we learned some really cool stuff. And then they all went home, Ringler and Campbell, and me and Brown went to D.C., went to Rolling Thunder. How many motorcycles we see there, Brown?
A lot.
400,000 motorcycles.
400,000 motorcycles.
That's what they
That
said on
is
their
ridiculous.
website. And they came right down Constitution Avenue, and it was really awesome. So then we spent a couple days in the nation's capital, and then we rode home. And we got in last night, so we're a little saddle sore ourselves.
So you guys got some footage of that, though. We're gonna post it on the site, possibly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. We've got a stack this tall of stuff that we're trying to get posted up. But when you lead the lifestyles we lead, and you're always making memories, it's hard to just sit down and drudge through a little bit of editing and get them put up in it. But it's the life we lead.
Living the dream. Good for y'all.
Boss, let's talk about the annual communication a little bit, because it's going to be here before you know it.
It will. That's what, since the district meetings are ending tomorrow, actually, I'm going to go right in, and we've already done some pre-planning, some initial planning for this year's annual communication. It'll be the end of September again this year, and it'll be in Winston-Salem again. But we've got some really good things coming up. A very wonderful group of guys that are getting this together. Ben, you're involved in it. Gary Handy, Don Barrier, a lot of guys are really make this thing happen. They're the guys behind the curtain that makes it happen, makes us look good. And some of the things, last year we had some issues with our audio. Folks couldn't hear that well. That has been a priority number one to get that corrected. And we've got a good plan for that. Excellent plan for that.
Don Barrier is working extremely hard on that.
He's really excited about it.
He's been in contact with me. He's been in contact with Sean, and he is set to make this thing great.
Yeah. Yes, and indeed. And Don, speaking of Don Barrier, he is. I've asked him to. He does the music for Sophia Lodge, and I've asked him to incorporate some music into our annual communication. He's got some really good stuff coming up with that. It's Masonic music. It's what's in our OSW, and he's going to do a great job with that. He's excited about it, and I'm excited to see it happen too. So it's going to be good things going on.
Boss, let's talk about music just a minute. I'm probably going at some point we're probably going to do a whole program on music here, because I have Don's very good friend of mine, in addition to somebody that we work with. And in his capacity as our musician at Sophia, he is continually getting questions about the music, because we don't use a lot of music in North Carolina, and all of a sudden it's starting to crop up a little bit. And it's popping up here and it's popping up there, and a lot of it's our practices that are starting to leak out. People come and see us using music at Sophia as part of ritual, and they just can't believe how powerful it is. And so then all of a sudden flock over to Don at the end of the meeting, and they're asking him, well, what kind of music can we use? When can you use it? When can you play it? When can't you play it? What's okay and what's not okay? So, in addition to doing a bunch of really cool stuff at annual communication that I know he's got cooking, Don is really becoming an expert on music in Masonry in North Carolina. He's done a ton of research. He knows historically probably more about our music than anybody in North Carolina, and I'm hoping, and he and I have had a few private conversations about the fact that really the Board of Custodians needs to get out in front of this thing, because more and more people are starting to use it, and they keep asking Don what they can and can't do. And Don's telling them what his understanding is, but there are really no guidelines. So we want this to continue to flourish, and I think it will, because it goes right back to making it a deeper and richer experience. Everybody that sees it loves it. What we don't want to do is let it get away from us, and then all of a sudden people are using the wrong music or using it at the wrong time.
Right.
And then all of a sudden the ritual police come in and say, quit using music because y'all are doing it wrong. we want to do it right. So I'm really hoping that Don is going to be our go-to person, and that he's going to be able to work through some of our leadership in upcoming years and our Board of Custodians and come up with ways to use it, because, boy, it makes it powerful, does it not?
That's all part of that lodge experience. And what you'll be seeing at annual communication is music that is in all 3 degrees. That's already there. It can be used in it, as well as some other, but it's all in the Bonson manual. Another thing, after the necrology service, there's going to be some special music there. I'm not going to give it away, but I tell you, it's going to be worth the trip to be there. Come Friday afternoon is when we routinely do the necrology service, and this will be powerful, I promise you.
At annual communication, 2 of the most powerful things that I remember seeing there, one is when Grandmaster Toby Fitch sang, and everybody sang with him, and that was a powerful meeting anyway, and then it was just exacerbated by that, really sent it over the top. And then our past Grandmaster David Cash sang also at a meeting maybe a year or 2 later, and it was good stuff. So I'm excited about using music in Lodge in general, and in annual communication especially.
At installation, Grand Lodge officer installation, we sang America the Beautiful, and I was outside the room, and I tell you, it was hard to keep my emotions together hearing 300 people in a small room singing America the Beautiful, and we're going to have some similar experiences this year.
Good stuff. I understand that some lady's going to be putting on some kind of silent auction. You want to tell us about that?
Yes, my lovely wife Angela, she is such a giving person. Routinely, the ladies on Friday afternoon, the ladies will go on a trip somewhere, and she said this year we want to give back. She'll be having a silent auction. It'll be up in the kind of outside the vendor area there, where annual communication is held. There'll be a number of items for silent auction. And the Grand Lodge ladies will be helping her with this. And all of that money, 100% of that, will be donated to the Masonic and Eastern Star Home Foundation to support our fraternally related residents there at Whitestone. So she's heading that up. She's got a number of commitments for items for the auction. If anybody out there has things they would like to donate, she would love to have it. Just contact me, and we'll make sure we get you in contact with Angela, and she'll be proud to have anything you'd like to offer.
You know who's that? This is right up Ryan Flynn's alley. Ryan, if you're listening, how about donating something to Grandmaster's wife's silent auction? We probably could make you some sort of keynote donator or something, get him some kind of special recognition, and if you'll send it down here, I'll pay a ridiculous amount of money for it. How about that?
That sounds like a good plan to me, Brother Ryan. I'm sorry I missed you on the last one, so thank you.
Nothing like calling a brother out, right?
Yeah, putting him on the spot.
I understand Andrew Hammer is going to speak, our Grand Orator. I want to talk about Andrew just a little bit. How did you come to pick him as the Grand Orator? We're huge fans, and we've heard him speak many times, and he always brings a great and powerful message. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited that we have Andrew Hammer as our Grand Orator. I want to just know a little bit about the process of how that happened and what you have planned for him to do.
This is something that I struggled with, the Grand Orator, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to any of my predecessors, but sometimes we've had politicians come and speak with us, and they may not have been in a Blue Lodge in 20 or 30 years. I wanted somebody that's working in the quarries, that knows what's going on, knows what Masons need to hear. Obviously, Brother Andrew can be a bit provocative at times, and I appreciate that. We need to have that little kick in the pants occasionally, and I've asked him to be our Grand Orator. Obviously, he is from Alexandria, Virginia, but he is a North Carolina Mason. He's a honorary member of Wilkerson College Lodge, number 760. So he is a North Carolina Mason. He has very deep roots in North Carolina, And he's just the more I get to know him, the more I like him.
Me too. What's he going to do for us at annual communication? Obviously, he'll give a speech.
Yes,
I'm assuming.
he will do the after the introductions. He'll be Friday morning. He will be there, and of course he'll be there Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And so he'll be available just to kind of talk with the brothers.
Just tell him to like tone his speech down and do something really like
You know,
easy.
I have not put any filters on him.
Since you
I think he'll
haven't,
be all right.
since you haven't given him any guidance, I'll do that for you. Worshipful Brother Hammer, if in light of any other direction, I say bring it. Bring it. I've seen you bring it before, and bring it all the way this time.
Rock star status.
Instant rock star status. He's already got rock star status. but,
Absolutely.
I mean, this could be like winning the Super Bowl or the World Cup or something. He's British. Where he's born in, or he's from Britain, so he's got a British accent and stuff. It's like the World Cup. So we're expecting big things from your brother. We love him, and I know he'll bring it in a big way.
He will definitely do well.
He's also going to be, prior to the annual communications, he's going to be at Veritas Lodge, which is in the same building as Mount Hermon in Asheville on June 27th. Talked to Mike Pfizer today, and he told me to be sure and pitch it on the podcast. Anybody that can go to that, I know that they would like for you to. And if you have not seen Worshipful Brother Hammer speak, you want to see him at one of those two venues. He will not be the Grand Orator of North Carolina after this year, I'm assuming, unless he gets appointed by somebody else. So you get a lot of opportunity to see him talk. We will continue to bring him to Wilkerson College Lodge and Sophia Lodge, I figure, at some point in the years to come. But he's spending a lot of time in North Carolina right now, and we need to take advantage of it while we can. Andrew is also, if I'm not mistaken, the president of the MRF board, and somebody else is on the MRF board that we know. I can't remember who. And so the Masonic Restoration Foundation, I don't want to get off on TO stuff because we talk about it too much here probably, but tell us a little bit about the possibility that the MRF Symposium, which is a wonderful symposium that talks about all kind of really cool stuff, rich, thick experiences, might be in North Carolina in some year in the near future. I heard a rumor. That is
true. I actually met with Brother Mike Pfizer. Was he was asked to be the.
He was volunteered.
He was volunteered to be the leader of the group from the Asheville area, the Veritas group, to host the 2016 Masonic Restoration Foundation Symposium. This year it's in Philadelphia. It's been in Cincinnati, Manchester,
New Hampshire,
all these places. And getting together, there's a lot of positive energy from these guys. The Sophia guys down in Salisbury are helping with this as well. They'll be co-hosting. But the Asheville guys, I mean, Asheville is such a wonderful place to hold something like this. They're generally held mid-August, and mid-August in Asheville is a beautiful time, and it's certainly a destination location, and a lot of excitement for that. It's going to be pitched to the full Masonic Restoration Foundation board this August at their meeting in Philadelphia. And hopefully they'll get the green light to go ahead and go with this. They're getting the tentative plans lined up, the hotels, that type thing. It's such a neat place. You won't have to worry about the transportation because there's hotels within walking distance of the temple there on 80 Broadway. And so that is wonderful. We can do the meals there, the table lodge, everything all under one roof and in one location.
Well, I hope we get it. If we get it, we'll be pitching this like every 10
All the
minutes.
time.
All the time.
Right.
All the time.
Home run. That'll be a home run.
That's huge for North Carolina.
It's huge for North Carolina.
The Deputy Grandmaster, Bryant Webster, is all on board. He is part of the committee with this as well. It has his full blessings, as that will be during his likely term. And so he has full blessing of that as well.
Cool. Tell me about the other Grand Line. Riley, do you want something?
No.
Tell us about the other Grand Lodge line officers. You want to just say a few words about them and in the direction that we might be going?
You know, this is something, when my term ends in December, I will miss these guys. Obviously, we'll still be in touch, but the camaraderie, the sense of purpose that all of these guys from Larry Thompson, our newest member, our junior grand steward, who I had the privilege of appointing to this line, all the way up to the deputy grand master. These guys are solid, and what I like about it, it's such a diverse group. It's not just from one sector. It's not from one part of the state. It's from across the state. We have attorneys, we have business guys, we have public service guys, we have pastors, and it's just such a broad mix. And when we get together and we talk, it's so amazing the diverse things that we come up with. But when we leave the room and we talk and we have some very, very good discussions about things, but when we leave the room, we're one. It's 9 guys together with it. It's not, there's not any cliques, there's not any groups, there's not any, well, I'm going to do this in my year. It's not any of this my year stuff. It's what we're going to do as a grand jurisdiction. So it's very, it's not a lot of about me. It's about the group, and that's what I love about these guys. These guys, top to bottom, solid. We are in good shape for years to come.
Cool. How did you go about, Larry Thompson was your pick. How did you go about picking Larry? How does a grandmaster go about picking a guy?
You know, that's something that from the day I was appointed in 2007, some of the guys came to me and said, you need to start looking for your appointment, for your junior grand steward appointment. And here I'm the junior grand steward. And it literally begins then. Just about everyone that was on my list was chosen. And that says a lot about how the group works. Larry kept coming to the top of the list. Some guys came up, some guys went down, because if you're looking at guys for 8 years, you get around them, you see what's happening. But Larry always stayed at the top. There's other guys that came up and down and then were chosen by other grandmasters. And he kept remaining at the top, and Larry's such a solid guy. He's fit in with this group very well. He brings his own expertise. And he's going to be a wonderful grandmaster. I'm just proud to have had the opportunity to set him on this journey.
I hate to say nice things about him just because he's my buddy and I like busting on him, but I love him a lot too. He's
Yes.
He's been kind of a mentor for me. All right, let's get off Thompson.
Yeah.
All right.
Let me get you a tissue.
Yeah. Feel the love, brother. Feel the love.
He is a great guy.
Brown, we're fixing to run it out of here pretty soon, buddy. What surprised you the most about being grandmaster this year, you think?
It's a full-time job. Fortunately or unfortunately, I still work. Fortunately, my wife is letting me off to do this gig for a year. But it is literally a full-time job, between the meetings, the events that you go to, the telephone calls, the emails. It is a 40-plus hour week job, and I think that was a little surprising, that how much is really involved in it. You have some appreciation for it coming up through the line, but then, you know, when you get that hat on, it's a whole different ballgame then.
How do you feel about our relationship with the Prince Hall guys? I got to tell you, I'm a little surprised. I heard Grandmaster Fitch talk about right after we passed that, maybe a year after we passed it, that, you know, he kind of told his guys to, you know, not push it, let it take its own course, it'll work itself out. And I thought that was good advice. But it's been a few years now. I really thought there would be more interaction between the two Grand Lodges, and I think everybody's just kind of taking that slow approach. Do you have a feel for where we are with that? I don't hear as many guys grumbling about it anymore. I hear a lot of guys that are just happy that it happened, but there's not a lot of interaction. Why do you think that is?
You know, I'm not sure. I see in some parts of the state there is. I was so proud at the Ashboro district meeting we had down at Ashboro 699. There were 4 Prince Hall Masons at that meeting. Loved it. They were buying into what I was saying as well, as about the lodge experience, those type things. But across the state, I think you've got some areas where it's more, there's a lot more interaction than others. I know at the Pig Jig, that was a few weekends ago, there was probably just as many Prince Hall teams there as there were AF and AM guys there. And I went and spoke to all of them. All of them were engaged. During the night, everyone kind of mingled around. A lot of wonderful fellowship.
I think it's time. I think we've had our time of taking it easy and easing into it. I think it's time to start interacting with those guys a little more. Again, an unsolicited opinion, but it is our show, so we can talk about whatever we want right now.
This is true.
We're going to make that happen. All right, I'm not going to get into my story about For those of you that don't know, Doug lives in Statesville. Grandmaster lives in Statesville, which is a long way from Troy, North Carolina. How long did it take you? How many days did it take you to get down here?
I forded a couple streams, crossed some pastures. And
Wow.
that's just getting out of Idle County. But yes, about an hour and a half. Not too bad of a ride.
All right. Well, I guess when you're used to putting on as many miles as you do, it's not really that far. But
Yeah,
it
this
seems,
was just
I
a little
haven't
drive.
been to Statesville a lot of times from here. It's a long way. We really appreciate you taking your time. I know you've been on the road a zillion miles, as you've told us. You didn't have to come down here and do this for us. You're getting absolutely no benefit out of it, other than the fact that that we appreciate you doing it and we're buddies. So, thank you so much for coming down here.
Thank you a lot.
We love what you're doing. We love the message you're bringing. We love you personally. We love the office, and thank you for doing it.
Well, you guys, Sean, Riley, all of you guys are just tearing it up. Y'all are actually doing things, making it happen, looking outside, trying to do things different instead of the same old, and I applaud you for it. Thank you, guys. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Grandmaster. I love you.
Thank you much, Worshipfull.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Masonian. For more information and productions, please visit and like our Facebook page at 357 Productions. You may also email us at 357productionsteam@gmail.com. Again, that is 357productionsteam@gmail.com. As always, tell people that you love them, and remember that we meet on the level and part on the square.